serious. How is everybody today? Welcome to Countertop Epoxy's live video feed. I'm your steward today. I'm your captain, taking you on an epic adventure of pouring purple resin. If you're not watching this channel, you should be. Trust me, if your moms are all watching, you should probably know what they're watching. Let them know if I'm inappropriate or anything. I tell really horrible dad jokes. I make lots of mistakes when pouring resin, but I do it all with you guys, and I'm definitely enjoying every day of my life working for you all. And I'm kind of loving this. Now, you say this is purple, Michael, but this looks like blue almost, doesn't it? That's beautiful. Very, very. This is going to be beautiful. Let me know. What's shaking, Bacon? How are you doing today? Let me know how you guys are doing today. Tell me if you woke up recognizing all your blessings. Thank you for all the love, guys. You're gonna love this when it's done, as long as I don't fuck it up. I'm doing really good. How are you guys doing? You know, there's always a reason to be stressed. Was it Shakespeare that said, I felt really bad for myself when I didn't have a pair of shoes, and then I met a man that didn't have legs. Oh, you fuckers out there saying I'm just a hillbilly. Didn't know I knew Shakespeare. Well, it probably wasn't Shakespeare. It was probably like Beavis or something that said that. I don't know, but I think it was Shakespeare that said that. That always makes me think. I have definitely a few things in my life to think about, but I have a ton of blessings. So I have 3 beautiful children, so there's never going to be a day where I'm not blessed. I'm liking this. Now, it's nice and tacky, and if you notice, you can see that surface tension. So it might be more like honey sticking it on, and then it's really awesome how that surface tension will just pull that edge together over the next few minutes and create a sheet of glass. I'd rather take a little longer with a higher grade product like this and actually really take my time rolling it on. I mean, you can see how thick this is, and it's going to cure extremely hard. And because it has that surface tension, it's going to bond really nicely to your edges, and you don't have to do all those cheap tricks that most of those cheap epoxy companies out there, we won't name names, Stone Coat or anything, Ligari, just get a really high grade resin that does what you want the first time. Wow, look at that. I didn't mean to talk shit, that was a joke. I know a lot of people would rather just almost paint it, and I'm like, oh, take your time. Take your time. Make sure your temperature's good. Make sure you mixed it adequately. I always break the surface tension down that edge all the way with my roller. I don't just let it drip down there. I always try to come back and brush it on nicely and make sure I've really contacted the roller to the entire surface. These are just dried drips on there because I've poured this like 5 times. We had, after the last time I poured it, it was so freaking ugly, I knew I had to do something to it.
Someone said, is the resin quality the reason you don't tape edges?
Exactly, I never tape edges just because of that, because we actually have surface tension, and that's how we manufacture it like that. And the kind of funny thing is I actually taped the edge of a bar one time, and everybody started copying me, but they didn't know. It was in my office. I had a bar top in my last big shop, and it was like 63 feet around. Well, my floor was all wavy, and trying to build a bar on top of a wavy floor, and I mean, it's one thing to build a 16-foot bar even, which is huge, but once you're like 63 feet, you see every ripple on a really raised bar. So, and we were having a hard time, you know, getting it absolutely true. So I took and poured with foil tape, almost like what I did over here. I made a foil dam, and then I just flooded it with epoxy that's self-leveling, so I got an absolute like pure like flat lake effect across the 63-foot bar, and it wrapped around. So I use foil tapes like this a lot for stuff like that, so you can actually kind of create a temporary dam and peel it off. If you're trying to create something huge and make sure it's level. I never use tapes to try to get my epoxy to like get super hot and pour over. It's a really, I'd say that's a tough way to guarantee the same look every time. And hot resins that only are setting for 5 minutes don't really have time to get a very good bond to your substrate either. So.
What brand of epoxy do you use, or do you use your own brand?
This is Countertop Epoxy, and that's our brand. And it is the best in the world. It's pretty clearly too. It's kind of funny, you notice a lot of like comparison tests with epoxies out there. Nobody ever compares our epoxies. So it is self-leveling, and that is mother flipping clear right there. Look at that. That is a water. This is our countertop, not even our casting. We have casting resin that's as clear as water. But look at this. That is an inch thick of just countertop poured in one time. There is no countertop resin on the market right now that I could have poured perfectly clear, an inch thick pour that wouldn't have exothermed horribly right there and baked off and turned yellow. So now, as far as the craftsmanship on the rest of this, you guys should really talk shit, because I felt like a monkey banging a football trying to put this thing together. It was like the dumbest. The first one turned out so horribly. I should show them. I always have people, this is funny. I'm gonna do a video for you guys, because most of you guys are all nothing but love, but every once in a while some dumbass comes on and talks shit and is like, laughs because I messed something up or whatever, and I'm like, dude, you have no idea the things I've messed up. So I'm gonna actually try to get some of my really shit projects together that haven't made it to the dumpster yet, and just show you guys like a smorgasbord of Levi's F-ups. But I'll tell you, the reason why I have a few things around here every once in a while that turn out really nice, and the reason I've been able to fly all over the world and do this, is because I'm not afraid of fucking things up. So don't be afraid. If you're trying to learn a new talent like this, come out to a class, come to some training, but most of all, have a really good attitude towards mistakes, and just realize if you're learning, to get through as many mistakes as you can, as fast as you can. Countertop Epoxy, links in the bio. And when's our 4th of July sale? Wednesday, 4th of July sale starting. I bet you most brands don't recommend you lighting it on fire, and I don't either. Don't ever play with fire, kids. Just because Uncle Levi makes it look fun. My kids now, I fully encourage my children to play with fire at all times. I'm gonna honestly, so right now, this is 99% isopropyl alcohol, and I mixed a really heavy batch of translucent blue into it. And normally you should never do this, as I will repeat again in a minute. Don't ever light stuff on fire. But it works really well for popping air bubbles. And it's dropping that trans blue into that purple. And holy shit, that's looking good. Why did I learn this? I learned that out of impatience one time. I was like, well, what if I just lit the thing on fire? So, dude, I don't know. Can you see that on the camera? That's really pretty. So, dimensional. It is really pretty, dude. That's pretty cool. Oh, pink? You know what? Why not? Here goes nothing. That's gonna give it the most badass cell effect. Look at this. Now, because that blue has dried, we can come back over and actually create kind of a separating cell effect with another product on top, and now you'll get that really crazy spider webbing on the surface.
Forrest said he's oh wait.
What's that?
Or a good bit of resin. I'll have to check your stuff out.
Thank you, Forrest. Check it out, man. Countertopepoxy.com. Come out to a class anytime you want to. We do classes here every month. We're kind of the top epoxy school in the world. We have people come from all over the world to classes every month. We're right here to Grand Junction, Colorado. And we have a ton of very hands-on. You do every single thing in my class yourself. So I don't let you show up and watch me. I do it alongside you, but we have a whole classroom, and you are mixing while I mix, spraying, spreading epoxy, torching. every single person. I believe if I see all these classes out there with like 6 people gathered around somebody that is halfway working themselves, and you're supposed to learn a bunch just from watching him do something. The classes are $349, I believe, and it's 3 days, usually about 6 hours a day, and we feed you really good food every single day. So we have a really good restaurant in town here that has a really good menu that we take every class to every day for lunch. Oh, dude, I so badly want to get my Texas sawmill set up right now. I have it all out in a shipping container, and I definitely love doing woodworking, but since I've moved to this shop, I've just never had time to for the last year and a half to do any of the really big woodworking projects. Okay, that gold on there? I ain't sad about that. Thanks for all the love, guys. What do y'all think about that gold spider webbing into that blue? Can you guys see it on the screen? You can? Oh, I forgot. I did. I'm just gonna grab one thing here. You know, when you have a really good videographer and he makes requests and he watches cool movies like White Chicks and everything, sometimes you have to do things that just make him laugh. So, welcome to America, brother. Anybody ever seen White Chicks? This is my White Chicks wig. So, sorry if I offended anybody. I don't even know. I guess since what's that?
Where are we located?
I just lost like 4,000 viewers right there. A bunch of I just got reported for probably like bad content or something. We're in Grand Junction, Colorado. And yes, I bought this wig to make my little girl laugh because we were at the mall together and she had so much fun wig shopping with me. It was pretty funny. Oh, what's that?
Kind of getting a lapis look.
Yes.
Is that right?
Dude, that's
That
actually
right? Yeah,
lapis look.
I'm from Colorado,
Oh, that's actually. I want it to be random, guys, and I am sorry. I would keep this wig on for you guys. I love you, but holy shit, that tickles my ears and stuff. How do people, I was gonna say, how do ladies handle having all that hair on their heads? But you know what? I guess I have a beard, so I'm glad ladies don't have beards. I'm personally, I don't judge anybody that does, but I would prefer women to not have beards. So, and yeah, when I first started growing this beard when I was 3, it did itch my face pretty bad. Blue. That is a badass blue. That's gonna mix in really nice. I think you're gonna be really surprised when I actually swipe this, guys. Swipe it, swiper. Ooh, we got our silver. Okay, I'm excited about that. This is Countertop Epoxy, and thank you for joining our channel. The link's in the bio if you're interested in buying any of the products we use. So, I have done some. I actually, kind of a really good friend of mine, one of the best friends growing up. I hadn't met him for quite a while, hadn't seen him for several years, and I'd got out of the Marine Corps, started this business, and he called me back and said, hey, my mom's in town, and my dad passed away, but they'd spent like a year straight, dude. It was really honestly a sweet story. They were like best friends. And I guess I was going to say their names, but I won't because I don't know if they'd want this story. But every night they'd get home from work and they'd lay on the floor, they said, and talk to each other while they built like this penny floor. And it was huge. And they said, we were just going to do a small area, but we just kept adding pennies because we were having so much fun kind of just doing this together. So kind of odd, but I'd have more fun than gluing pennies down. But it was a pretty amazing job, and it just never got epoxied. So we went in, and that was really fun. We got to finish a bunch of stairs and stuff, and a bathroom, and put pennies down, and then epoxy it all. It was a lot of damn work, I can tell you. I can't even remember how many pennies per square foot, but that was a crazy job. what? Dude, you know what I saw this morning? I didn't clean my big fancy blade. I was so sad. I was so pissed off at myself. I was like, I think I should do linear this way. Keep those strokes lengthwise, guys. Okay, this is gonna turn out pretty sweet. Well, I can just see, I can feel it. It's gonna be good.
Does the shirt having a Bob Ross moment mean anything to you?
A Bob Ross moment. You know what? I make lots of happy and unhappy accidents all the time. I'm just not scared of accidents. I used to be though. I used to really be afraid of messing things up, you know. And I think when you're young, you get criticized for messing things up. You start being afraid to try new things, and that is why I'm trying to learn as a father. I have, you know, this beautiful little girl, and she'll drop something on the floor, and I'm trying to always just learn to be encouraging and just always find ways to learn from everything, so that they're never afraid to make mistakes, that they just find a different way to do something. So maybe out of the worst mistakes you learn something you never could have learned, and it ends up, I don't know, benefiting you more than if you'd have never made that mistake. This talented? Okay, come to a class if you think I'm talented, and I promise you, you're gonna make a prettier piece than me. And if you don't, you're gonna come up and do my class piece. And this is right where I teach in class, and we do these samples right along with you. And I will let you do my door in the class, and we'll do this exact color if you want to. You can take it home with you. If you bring a car, drive home with the sample. You can all fly with your samples you do, but you can take something huge home if you specifically, who was that said they think this is so talented? MEBRAS. If you show up to a class, we'll help you knock out some of the best stuff you've ever seen with your own hands and then take it home. I'll do some big projects just for you.
I like these colors a lot. How are the fumes?
No fumes at all. And this epoxy right here is really unique. It's the hardest epoxy, the most color stable epoxy in the world, and one of the most scratch resistant epoxies. And that is because it's the only considered fully non-hazardous epoxy in the world. And we spent a lot of time and money manufacturing a product that didn't have any of the most 3 known harmful chemicals that everybody can lie and put up to 3% of each chemical and not disclose that any of it's in the products. That's why a lot of the epoxies that you buy at the store say 0 VOC, or they claim they're healthy, and then you still smell them. That's because of lobbyists. So lobbyists in Washington, D.C. have allowed a lot of companies to just lie to you. So, but we still ship to a lot of countries outside the U.S. that actually really care about health for their citizens, and where they won't allow you to lie and put chemicals in, and this is the product everybody buys. Hello, hey. What's that? That is cool. I want to see the movie on Bob Ross. I don't know if anybody's seen it, but...
Are all the materials provided, right?
All the materials are provided, yeah. You even get really good lunch. You could do this on your front door, as long as you know how to reset your hinges properly and get your distances right and everything. And we'd want to spray it. We have a really UV resistant urethane that's made to go right over the top of this for UV protection, and we'd like show you some stable colors and everything. Do I ever go too far? I go too far with lots of things in life. Let me tell you something. Just ask your mom. No, don't ask your mom. I always tell horrible jokes. It's what you get when you get somebody a ginger teaching your class. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean for my phone to ring. Should we answer it if it's a scammer? If we get spam calls, I'll answer the next one. The classes are right in Grand Junction, Colorado, and you fly right into town here, and they're $349. So, and it's a lot of hands-on. You go home with a lot of samples. We have some really good classes through the summertime right now. The next like 3 classes are going to be pretty awesome, where we're doing few extra things more than most classes. So usually our summertime is fun because it opens up our ability to really get students inside, outside, wall projects, countertop projects, stuff like that. So our summer classes, we put a lot of fun time into them because you're not all cooped up in one little building or something like that. So, and we actually are changing our classroom, so each person will actually have 2 full workstations that they'll be able to go back and forth to for their projects. So I'm fucking excited. So what's this? If it's a class where we were doing some work on slabs, you definitely could. Or if you call the office and ask to speak with Joe Beth, we'll definitely work something like that into it. And actually, Michael, the gentleman holding the camera, will probably have a lot to do with that. And we can figure out, kind of send us some pictures and dimensions, and we'll figure out something we could do with it. Take your samples home? Dude, I ain't a prick. Your samples will probably look so shitty. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't want to keep them. No, I had this really bitchy lady in class one time. Am I allowed to say that on here? I don't know. She was like mean to everybody around her. And usually the women are like the only ones that pay attention and are really nice. And I always let everybody take their samples. And she wouldn't listen to anything I said. And then she was complaining to everybody in the back of the classroom. She goes, I bet you he's going to sell us these samples. And I mean, you guys pour your own epoxy samples and you mix and you pour again and you pour again. I mean, sometimes people go home with like 7 samples or something like that. We pour a lot of epoxy and mix a lot of epoxy in. And she's like, he's going to sell these back to us. And her stuff was so ugly. And I said, lady, I was like, look at your sample. And I was like, nobody wants your ugly shit. You can keep it. And she got so mad. I think that might have been one of the only bad reviews I ever got. And I've learned since then to try to be less of a Levi. That's my name. Be less like me. And a little bit slower and kinder. Where's that come from? Yeah, link in the bio to go there. I'm not sure what's happening. TikTok's doing a bunch of rearranging, and our shop is not up right now on TikTok, and we do not know why. So, what's that? Yeah, they must hate us. They don't like my bald, ugly head and weird face. Okay, the reason I'm going over this more is you continue to separate the colors. I mean, I don't know if you can see this in person, but I'll continue separating these colors and it'll become more and more three-dimensional. And it's going to be an incredible look here. And I'm going to do a little bit of manipulating. Sometimes I like to create a few just kind of sharp veins. And you can use some of your same base material if you want to. It doesn't always have to be a contrasting color. How is everybody? Bunch of comments. Comments. I hope I have an answer.
Have you ever done epoxy on a vehicle?
I've had some guys do it, but I had a really skilled dude, and he did like some Harley tanks and some different things, and a hood and a tailgate, I think, that I saw, and they turned out really good. I would just say, make sure you get a really good bond with the outdoor flex, and you're going to have the curvature of most body panels on vehicles have quite a bit of curve to them, so you'd want to really think of how you plan on dealing with that, in just my opinion.
Do you not need freezing protection for this?
No, this epoxy right here specifically was made very non-hazardous, just so we could work with it. I know I'm working with epoxy every day of my life for the last 15 years, so I've been very careful as to what I work with. And a lot of companies out there will just say, we don't want to spend the money to make a less hazardous product, so they'll say, oh, you can't do that, or it doesn't exist. Well, it freaking does. It just, most companies are too cheap, and they want to harden things in a really inexpensive way, and that's why a lot of epoxies aren't color stable, so they don't have the same temperature resistance, because they have really harmful chemicals that actually just really cheaply create a cure. So don't get hard cheap. Thank you, guys.
How much would it cost for the wood black one you have a video on?
Which one was that one? Oh, black?
Oh, that one right there. The desk, the deep cast black. And the one that got messed up a little.
Oh, really?
In the hallway.
Oh, that one. Yeah, that desk. If it's the big desk with a turn down edge, I think it started out as like 19 foot or 21 feet or something. And just the wood that I put in it cost, I think, $3,500. So that plus the resin, I'm thinking we put about 130, 140 gallons of resin in it. So usually something like that to be built and finished, 15 to 25,000, depending on the thickness. I mean, that's a really thick. That thing was over 1,000 pounds when it was completed. So some of the projects are bigger than they probably look on screen. I know they might not look like that, but I'm trying to torch the bubbles out of the veins I just poured. We are located in Grand Junction, Colorado, and anything we're using, you can look at the link in the bio. We are countertopepoxy.com. This does self-level, especially when you hit it with a torch. It works really beautifully and speeds that process right along, and it pops all your little tiny air bubbles and whatnot. I hope you guys can see the shift of the different blues, because it's just very beautiful in person. And now I'm torching this very, very heavy right here, just because I really want to get some of the color to actually separate inside the resin. We do vinyl inlays. I'll show you a vinyl inlay right now on our table. So on our conference table, I'll take in. Hold on 1 second there so I can hear you. Yes, sir?
What is the difference between table epoxy, garage epoxy, and art epoxy?
Generally, like art epoxy, sadly, is just lower grade, which is sad because usually you put a bunch of time into art and people cover it with cheap epoxy and then it yellows right away. And so usually your art epoxies, they're unhealthy to work with. They have a lot of trifunctional amines, isobenzyl alcohol, and nonphenol. Those are 3 really carcinogenic products that are in most epoxies, and we work really hard to keep those out of our epoxies. A lot of deep cast is made for if you're pouring a really thick pour and you want to have it water clear, but it's a really slow exothermic reaction that takes place, so that most epoxies, the way that chemical cure takes place is way too fast to pour thick, because when it's in a mass it generates too much heat, and it actually cures expanded and then shrinks back. It'll do all kinds of crazy stuff depending on the epoxy. So we have a very slow curing water clear casting resin. And even our countertop resins are very slow cures. It takes like 12 hours for a full, to where it's hard to the touch, and it has about 2 to 3 hours of really easy workability. But we get really good bonds to our edges, really solid bonds onto tile, like ceramic or porcelain tile, laminate, granite, just about anything. So, and we end up with a way thicker top coat that you can sand, polish, degloss, just about any kind of sheen you want. If you don't like glossy countertops, you can make it look like a natural stone. Flooring epoxy, due to like the way you're applying it, usually you don't want something that's like a honey thick viscosity. So then you have different levels of quality. We have an outdoor flex that's extremely flexible, but it's a thin viscosity, so you can pour it and you can really spread it quite a ways. And we have special, it's called surface tension agents, and it's actually the opposite of some of our other products. We have products that have surface tension agents that are added to make it want to lay down really flat and thin, and we have certain chemicals we can put in there that make it want to try to build up and have like thickness to it. If you see like water get poured on a wax surface, it tries to bond together. So all epoxies have a different rate, a different amount of surface tension. So we've manufactured certain products for floors to really release air, which gets really amazing penetration and it bonds to slabs. We can add things like acetone into that, so we can get into moisture and cure moisture, and it works as like a hydrostatic vapor barrier. So I don't know. This is what you'll learn in class. If you guys want to come to a class, we start out very, very simple, and it just goes on for fucking days, and it's really fun. And then you guys ask lots of questions so I can be more relevant to your needs. So all day. Laminate countertops are very common, and I'll show you guys a little bit of what we do around here.
What would you recommend epoxy-wise for art?
Art, I would just get our UV Plus or our FX Black Label countertop epoxy. The FX Black Label is going to be your hardest, clearest, highest end epoxy. So, and that's what we just poured right here in the classroom with the purple. So, sorry, I carry a cabinet in here and put it right in the doorway like a dumbass. So, I will. Do you know what? I'm going to spray it with alcohol really heavy in just a minute, and thank you for reminding me. Here is our wall epoxy, and I always have to show this off because gentleman, Ray Romero, did this, and he is just a fucking gangster. And he'd never once worked with our trowelable wall epoxy. And usually we're doing like marble finishes, or like here's what I did with it. This is you guys that are like, oh, Levi's like the Bob Ross of epoxy. Let me show you why I'm not. That is me messing with it for probably the 60th or 70th time. And I made a pretty little picture and I polished it, and it's kind of smooth, right? But that ain't no picture. And I should really know what I'm doing with that. And it was fun. Me and my boy did this, and there's a quick video. We really just did the wall, and then we stuck a frame around it that was an old random frame that the Frame Depot couldn't sell. Now, Bob Romero said he wanted to do a picture with it. Ray Romero, sorry, wanted to do a picture with this. And he just started troweling this on. He had like 30 to 45 minutes work time. He said, I wanted a waterfall in it. That's all I really knew. And I liked some of your blue colors. And there you go. You can see that Mr. Romero is a much better artist than me with his very first time ever. So he actually learned how to paint and used to teach Bob Ross classes. I guess he learned how to paint from Bob Ross's teacher. And then he taught the Bob Ross classes for a while. And you'd never guess it from knowing the guy. So first time.
What would be the most likely mistakes I appreciate in
Well, the most likely mistakes first time using epoxies is usually not getting it out of the cup in time. You mix it up and you're not really ready to start spreading it. As soon as you spread that surface, that product onto a wall or the floor or a countertop, now that substrate is dissipating the heat, and that heat keeping that heat low by spreading it out on the wall is how you keep a nice slow cure so you have workability. A lot of people leave it in the cup too long, then by the time they get it on the wall, they don't have any time to work with it. So I'd say that's probably one of the more common errors. But man, people that read the instructions, we have very simple instructions and we have really good work times with everything. And all these floors, this is done by a class. A class did everywhere in our building. This was all poured over a really big, nasty tile. It was concrete, and the other room here was a removable grid tile system, and we also had OSB. So, and here is our conference room and our conference table. For those of you that were wondering about graphics, you can see we built this table out of 6 sheets of MDF. It's just 16 feet long, 4 feet wide. And we triple stacked 3/4 inch sheets. We did glue and screw each layer individually. I don't recommend like stacking all 3 with glue and trying to screw through them. You're usually not fast enough. Your glue's setting up too quickly. And if you get any separation of the sheets out in the middle, it's frustrating and it'll actually be held apart. So really simple to do. We poured our base coat on here of just copper and charcoal, I believe. Then I came back the next day, 12 hours later, or 15 hours later, and I set my vinyl graphic with just soap and water. When we let that dry, I think for like 24 hours because I was afraid of the water still coming out of it. And then I just poured a coat of clear epoxy on top and sanded this. If you know, I don't know if you can see on screen, but this is like a satin sheen, same as my floors. I don't like glossy, shiny things, so I took the gloss off. What? Oh yeah, I'll show you that. Right on. Man, I don't know if I can see this without glasses on outside. This is like a blinding day, but this is our outdoor Super Trax coating right here. And here is the last class we did. I think we lose reception if we go out much more, so we're gonna lose the live. But as you can see, we broadcast sand and we fixed spalling concrete, filled in a bunch of expansion joints, and broadcast the sand coating there. The black is where we finished asphalt. And here, kind of fun, the class actually had fun doing this, and I think it made it look really nice, as they just taped off a simple little brick pattern, rolled epoxy into these necessary areas, and broadcast a different color and accent of sand. So I hope you guys can join us in a class coming up, and I'll show you the last area, a few walls we did, and we're gonna have some good videos of all the outdoor stuff coming out too. So. Here's more of a countertop. This was a project from the last, or like 5 classes ago actually, that we did. And this, we did this exactly the same as the table I just showed you. We built it all flat, and then all we did is we took a track saw and cut our miters and bent the legs down, made a kind of a waterfall edge table. And the wall behind you here, this is polished wall epoxy, and you can see some of the true metal here that we're showcasing lately. We have a polishable metal that we've been just playing with, and I have quite a few samples to show off and to let you go home with. So come and join us for a class. Thank you so much for the live. Thanks for all the support. Please hit the follow button. And I'm sorry, I have like 5 Kill Your Local Pedophile shirts because I just love the message, but I didn't have one today, so God bless you. And I'll see you this afternoon. I'm pretty sure I am doing a live this afternoon on a kind of a funner project. I'm putting legs on a big cast project we did, so have an awesome day, and I will see you later.